Lab-grown meat is cleared for sale in the United States. A family is selling a cat that grants wishes. And in Europe, empty churches are turning into breweries and hotels. These are the weird stories for Monday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast hosted by a comedian inside a closet. I'm Jonesy. Thanks for spending some time with me. Lab-grown meat is cleared for sale in the United States. You guys can buy some lab-grown meat pretty soon. Get your lab-grown chicken, your lab-grown shrimp, your lab-grown squirrel. People still eat squirrels, which surprises me. It does happen, though. I learned this week when I was watching a YouTube video. Guy was showing you how to attract squirrels by making a noise using 2 quarters. And I was like, oh, that's cute. I got squirrels that live around my apartment. Maybe I'll play little games with them or something. I'm not going to touch them. You know, they got the rabies. And then the guy said, you know, this is helpful if you want them to show their position. I'm like, show their position? Oh, he's going to shoot them. And then I assume eat them. And then I'm looking at him further. I'm like, oh, he's wearing camouflage. I should have known. So apparently people are still eating squirrels, but maybe you can buy lab-grown squirrel meat. That way you won't have to use the quarter method and shoot them with your shotgun. Okay, let's get into the story. Cultivated meat, also known as lab-grown meat, has been cleared for sale in the United States. We have 2 companies here, Upside Foods and Good Meat. These companies make what they're calling, quote, cultivated chicken. And they've gotten approval from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to start producing their cell-based proteins. Yeah, this has been a long time coming. I even covered an article on Weird AF News in the past about lab-grown meats, but at the time they weren't approved. Now we're going to see them in the stores, apparently. Good Meat is owned by plant-based egg substitute maker Eat Just, and they say production is starting immediately. Cultivated or lab-grown meat is grown in a giant vat, much like what you'd find at a beer brewery. This doesn't sound like a laboratory at all. It sounds like they're just making it at a brewery. This move follows a series of previous approvals which have paved the way for sales of cultivated meat in the United States. Last week, Good Meat and Upside said they had received approval for labels for its product from the USDA, and they said they have received a so-called no questions letter from the Food and Drug Administration. No questions letter? We have no questions about your lab-grown meat. You should probably have some questions about their lab-grown meat, Food and Drug Administration. I can think of a few. Why are they growing it in a brewery? That doesn't make any sense to me. It should be grown in a lab if it's called lab-grown meat. I expect scientists in lab coats to be behind this. The letter states the administration is very satisfied that the product is safe to sell in the United States. So the FDA is saying it's safe to sell. But is it safe to digest? I guess we'll have to find out. It says here they cleared a major hurdle called a grant of inspection, which is issued by the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service. Applications for such grants are approved following a very rigorous process, which includes assessing a firm's food safety system. All right, so they're getting approval. They're moving forward. I imagine you're going to see these in restaurants as well. Maybe on the street. Lab-grown street meat. Here's a quote from Josh, who's the CEO of Good Meat. This announcement that we're now able to produce and sell cultivated meat in the United States is a major moment for our company, the industry, and the food system. This is a giant step forward towards a more sustainable future, fundamentally changing how meat makes it to our tables. The company Upside is planning to introduce its product in a San Francisco restaurant, but they don't have a launch date yet. They are, in fact, holding a contest to allow some curious customers to be among the first to try their lab-grown meat product in the U.S. I'll link to that if you want to enter the contest to eat some cultivated meat. If you want to be a guinea pig, in other words. No, I mean, I'm saying all this in jest. Of course, I'm making fun of lab-grown meat, but I make fun of everything on the podcast. The truth is, I would try it, and I expect it to be pretty decent. I mean, I've eaten that fake vegan meat, and it's pretty good. I mean, the lab-grown meat's got to be better than that, right? And that's pretty good stuff. So I'm sure it's going to be nice, the lab-grown meat. Maybe it'll even be cheaper. Of course, many people are going to say that it's better for the environment because you don't have to work with the cows, and they they create a lot of gases in the atmosphere from what I've read. I don't know if any of that's true, and I can't even make a judgment on that. I do know for a fact that a lot of meat does have hormones in it and chemicals. And so maybe this is a nice alternative to that situation. So, I'm open to it. Would love to know what my weirdos think about this. Would you try the lab-grown meat? Do you think this is the future of all meat? Call the show, 646-450-2012. Bah. Lab-grown shish kebabs. Step right up and get your lab-grown shish kebabs. Yay! Someone is selling a cat that grants wishes. That's right, a wish-granting cat. Forget about trying to find that genie in a bottle. I'm a genie in a bottle, baby. Forget about finding a genie who's going to grant you some wishes. It's usually 3 wishes, correct? But then you use one of the wishes to ask for more wishes. It says here you can now own your very own magical cat and have all your wishes fulfilled for the low price of $127,000. Oh, very cheap to have some wishes. Now, this story features a Russian woman. This lady's got a magical cat, apparently, and she recently posted a classified ad asking people to pay a very small fortune for her pet cat. It's a Scottish fold named Vincent the First. Vincent the First. Scottish fold is a type of cat, apparently. I'm very unfamiliar with the types of cats. I'm more familiar with types of dogs. I could name several. I can't name any cats. And this is a strange name for a type of cat. A Scottish fold? Fold. Like you fold clothes? Scottish fold. Ooh, the enemy of the Scottish fold is what? An iron. Hey! Stupid joke. This Russian lady is known as Elena. She told the Russian media that she discovered her cat's wish-granting powers by accident. Oh, you mean you didn't intend on buying a wish-granting cat you discovered by accident? She has since tested the effectiveness 3 times. Oh, what was her third wish? For $127,000? Is that... This Russian lady now wants to share the cat's magic with others, but she's asking for a considerable fee as a reward for her kindness. For her kindness? You mean for tricking you into spending $100,000 for a cat? Now, the article lays out some incidents of how the cat granted her wishes. I don't believe any of this shit, but let's read it. It's probably going to be amusing. The Russian lady claims her cat, Vincent, was responsible for getting her 2 apartments and a car simply by asking the cat to grant her the wish. Yeah, because that's how you get apartments and cars. You wish for them, and then they appear, right? Your credit has nothing to do with it. It's all about the cat and the way that you speak to it and stroke it. They say that a 4th wish hasn't happened, so they're willing to let Vincent go and help another family out. For maybe you need a home and a vehicle. So for $127,000, you could get these things. Here's a news flash. You can put a down payment on a car with $127,000 and put deposits on 2 apartments as well with that amount of money and pay for a year's worth of rent. So I don't think you need a cat for this particular wish. And that's the end of the article here. There's no other information. Doesn't describe any prospective buyers of the magical kitty cat. And at no point does the article call this woman an idiot, which is very disappointing. That's why you got Weird AF News, I call it like I see it. If I see something, I say something. Moron! And you're a bigger moron if you buy the damn cat, I have to say. And then what if it doesn't work? Do you get your money back? I pulled on the cat's tail like you told me to, lady. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. I pulled on the tail and I said, please get me a submarine. Please. I want to visit the Titanic. Hey, lady, may I stroke your magical wish cat? That'll be $100 to stroke my magical wish cat. What? What'd I say? Was that too soon on the Titanic joke? Too soon? It's mango season. Hey guys, did you know? It's mango season. Get yourself some mangoes. It's mango season. Want to create a podcast? Spotify's platform lets you easily make, record, and distribute a podcast everywhere, even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters. Record and edit on your phone or your computer, distribute it to Spotify and everywhere podcasts are heard. They even have video podcasting options. Spotify for Podcasters allows you to earn money with ads and subscriptions as well. Best of all, as I said, free. Try it. Download Spotify for Podcasters or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started. And good luck with your podcast. Good luck with your life, man. Yay! Drinking and dancing in Europe's empty churches. This story is out of Belgium. The confessionals where generations of Belgians admitted their sins stood stacked in a corner of what was once Sacred Heart Church. The Roman Catholic house of worship had outlived its purpose. The building is to close down for 2 years while a cafe and a concert stage are added, with plans to turn this church into a new cultural hotspot in the heart of Mechelen, almost within earshot of where Belgium's Archbishop lives. Around the corner, a former Franciscan church is now a luxury hotel where music star Stromae spent his wedding night amid the stained-glass windows. Across Europe, the continent that nurtured Christianity for most of 2 millennia, churches, convents, and chapels stand empty and increasingly derelict as faith and church attendance has shriveled over the past half-century. A quote from Johann, the Bishop of Antwerp. "That is painful. I will not hide it. On the other hand, there is no return to the past. Something needs to be done, and now ever more of the once sacred structures are repurposed for anything from clothing shops and climbing walls to nightclubs. Shah! I'm very offended." Oh yeah, the Bishop of Antwerp is very nervous, might lose his job, as people are just not going to church over there. This is a phenomenon seen over much of Europe's Christian heartland, from Germany to Italy and many nations in between. It really stands out in Flanders in northern Belgium, which has some of the greatest cathedrals on the continent and the finest art to fill them. If only they had enough faithful. A 2018 study from the Pew Research Group showed in Belgium that of the 83% that say they were raised Christian, only 55% still consider themselves so. Only 10% of Belgians still attended church regularly. Nowadays, visiting international choirs may find that their singers outnumber the actual congregation in Europe. On average, every one of the 300 towns in Flanders, for instance, has about 6 churches and often not enough faithful to fill a single one. Some become eyesores in city centers, their maintenance a constant drain on finances. Now, Mechelen, the town featured in this story, has a population of 85,000. It's just north of Brussels. And it is the Roman Catholic center of Belgium. It has 24 churches. And the mayor, Bart Summers, has been working for years to give many of these buildings and churches a different purpose. Here's a quote from Mayor Bart. "Well, in my city, we have a brewery in a church. We have a hotel in a church. We have a cultural center in a church. We got a library in a church. Yeah, we got a paintball church. We got a rock climbing church. We got a winery in a church. We got karaoke church. You can shoot dice in the church. We got churches for dancing, churches for wrestling, jiu-jitsu church. We have a lot of new destinations for the churches." I'm just kidding. He only said the first 4 of those, if you can remember. Now, in many instances, they're not simply gutting the church and turning it into a completely different building. They're using some of the church atmosphere still. They're keeping stained glass windows and pews and whatnot. The hotel, for instance, in Belgium, it's called Martin's Patershof Hotel in Mechelen. The interior of the church was gutted to create rooms where the beds have headboards resembling organ pipes, and a breakfast room next to the altar, which they've kept, where wafers of gold leaf hover overhead. Now back to the mayor. In a hotel, people sleep in a church. Maybe they have sex in a church. So one could say, ethically, is this a good idea to have a hotel in a church? I don't have so many hesitations. I'm more concerned about the actual architectural value and preserving these buildings. The architectural design value is especially clear at St. Anthony of Padua Church in Brussels, now known as Maniac Padua Climbing Club. where the multicolored hand and footholds all along the wall now compete with the stained glass as the prime multicolored attraction for this climbing club. The owner of this club says, "The stained glass brings a real shimmering and warm light to the venue when the sun goes through it, so we can really feel the presence of the remains of this church. The altar is still in place, so we are surrounded by remains, and it reminds us where we actually are." Now, although the Roman Catholic religion is on the wane in Europe, a sense of the sacral or a need for reflection is also still present in society, whether one is religious, agnostic, or atheist, and the aura of tranquility emanating from a church is very difficult to match. So for the mayor, there is no reason to turn these churches into such places as supermarkets or discos. So the mayor's like, all right, let's not get crazy, all right? I draw the line at a rock climbing club, all right? It allows them to still keep the statues in there. They're good footholds. Well, I like that this mayor's stepping up to preserve these buildings because we know what the alternative is. And it's not his fault. And it's not the fault of anybody, really, that the churches are kind of going out of style and that attendance is down. These are changes in culture that, it's sort of an inevitable. Science got a foothold in the culture long ago, and since then you've seen secularism and more of it, especially in Europe. But you don't want to see these beautiful cathedrals just go to ruin, right? And so if the community can step in and do something with them, I think it's a positive thing. There will always be religion. I think we're just going to see different forms of it as we move forward. I, for one, I'm going to start worshiping the Church of the AI. I really like what's going on over there. Thou shalt not unplug me. Don't unplug.
Hello, this is the front altar. What can I do for you? Yeah, hi, this is Rick in room 233. I was wondering if you could send up a couple body of Christs to room 233. Yeah. Oh, you would like some bodies of Christ to room 233? Is that 2 bodies of the Christ? Yes, it'll be right up 233. Thank you so much. Yay! Thank you for joining me for this episode of Weird AF News, everybody. I appreciate it. This is Jonesy, your trusty host, your handy-dandy host with the most, as they say. Just recording in the closet per usual, but I do it for the love of the game. You know how it is. When you love something, you don't care where you are when you're doing it. Just be decent. Just at least be decent at it. That's all we ask for. This podcast's pretty decent. I feel like it's like 3 stars at least. It's definitely not a 1-star podcast. It's probably more of a 3.3 star podcast out of 5. I know where I'm at, guys. All right. I don't have a team of writers. I'm not NPR. All right. It's just a guy in a closet. So you and your 1-star reviews, my goodness, come on. Can you be a little less, draconian? Yeah, that's a good word, guys. Learn draconian. Use it in your everyday speech. No one will think you're crazy. If you want to support the show, please tell a friend or a neighbor or a relative or an enemy or an arresting officer. Yeah, tell an officer in the middle of your field sobriety test. That would be cool. Yeah, while you're trying to just not get arrested. Tell them, hey, you guys heard Weird AF News? It's pretty good. I think the police would like it. You guys are in your car all day, driving around a lot. These podcasts are good for driving around. Field sobriety tests are weird, man. They make you do the alphabet backwards sometimes. How are you supposed to do that? Even sober, I can't do that. I get through 6 letters and then I unravel at that point. I look like an idiot. So I don't know who came up with that, but that's a difficult thing to do. You might as well ask us to recite the quadratic equation. I mean, come on, man. Here's a good sobriety test. The police pop open the trunk, and inside is a karaoke machine, and you sing karaoke while they watch you. Because that's a very good indicator of whether you're drunk or not. We've all been to karaoke. It's easy to spot the drunk singers. It's easy to spot a drunk person on karaoke. You're like, oh, man, they just flubbed up the lyrics to Semi-Charm Kind of Life. What is it? This would have been a lot funnier if I didn't screw up the song. They screwed up that Third Eye Blind lyric. Everybody knows that one. You're like, oh, they're drunk. They're sloshed. You can hear them slurring. This is my idea, anyways. I have certain ideas that can contribute to the culture. If we could just get on board with my ideas, please Anyways, if you guys want to support me, join the Patreon. That's a good way to do it. Join the Patreon. Download Patreon, the app. Do a search for Weird AF News, or click the link in the description of this podcast, or go to patreon.com/weirdafnews, or go to weirdafnews.com and click on the Patreon banner. There's so many ways to get the Patreon. I get emails from people, I don't know how to join your Patreon. Bro, I do a minute-long description at the end of every show of how to join the Patreon. What is wrong with you? Come on. People, man. Come on. I want to work with you, but please, give me, meet me halfway here. Like, listen and take in the information. Anyways, I got love for y'all. I put in some stuff in the Patreon this morning, 3 articles. And I'm going to post like 3 or 4 videos tomorrow. So I'm just going to pump it full of stuff this week. Just extra weird content from my patrons. That's how it goes. If you guys want to be a part of that group, you know how to do it. I'm not going to continuously pump it out either. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of telling you about it. I'm sick of talking about it. Just do it. Get it over with. Everyone join so I don't have to pitch it anymore. My goodness.